Hi, good morning, everyone. Really glad to be here. I'm a research scientist at Stanford Spark. So today I'm going to present some work I conducted with Nick Epley at Chicago booth when I was a postdoc there. So in this line of work, we focus on the idea that seemingly small acts of kindness can often create surprisingly large effects on other people. And we often overlook the power of our kind actions, which can create a barrier to engage in these actions. So here is my collaborator, Nick Epley. And I should also mention that this paper has recently been accepted at JPSP, so I'll provide a link to our preprint at this point. We were just talking about this. People have this fundamental need to belong and to connect from decades of research. So people want to be seen, be recognized, be heard, be appreciated for who they are, and be part of a team, be connected to other people. This is just part of human nature. And onto the specific case of giving compliments and creating this kind of positive connections, that many of us have heartwarming stories about how compliments have benefited our days and even changed our lives. So there has been fascinating research comparing the benefits of receiving compliments to even one study receiving the emotional benefits of receiving money. But we know from decades of research that the sense of feeling connected and seen and recognized and appreciated goes way beyond what money can buy. So we are all literally in a position to make improved lives. But it also seems that we often miss these really important opportunities in our daily lives. So we started off with a series of surveys where we asked this question: do people give enough compliments? And I think that the speaker, Lisa already mentioned that probably not. And so that's supported by our data too. In one survey, we found that people often, people self-reported, often holding back nice things that they have observed in other people and could have told them. So in another series of surveys, we also asked people, so how often do you give compliments compared to how often you think you should, or another study, how often you would like to? And we so with this comparison to 0, which is ideal state, like how often they should or they would like to, we found that there is a perceived compliment giving gap, even for themselves. So they feel that they don't give enough compliments. And in one survey, we compared the behavior of giving compliments to other prosocial and social behaviors, and we found that the perceived gap to compliment giving is even bigger than for other behaviors like expressing gratitude, giving advice. So why don't people give compliments when they have those nice thoughts to share? So we think there are many reasons, and one is that people might often don't realize how much expressing compliments, their kind words, can matter to the recipient. So in this paper, we conducted a series of studies to test this idea and the mechanism and the consequence. And then we also try to see if we can encourage people to give more compliments. Given the limit of time, I'm just going to focus on the high-level ideas. So across 9 experiments, we examined the idea that people underestimate the positive impact of their compliments on others, which can create a barrier to expressing these compliments more often. And I'm going to highlight my favorite studies in this package. So the first set of studies test the idea: do people underestimate the positive impact of their compliments? So to find out, we went to a beautiful park in Chicago. We want to reach a very diverse population. So we went there, set up a booth, and we recruited people who came to the park together. So these people could be, friends, romantic partners, family. So we recruited pairs who have known each other to our study, randomly assigned them to either the compliment condition or the control condition. In the compliment condition, one person would be randomly assigned to be the expressor, and they would write compliments, for example, 3 compliments here. And then they predicted how positive the recipient would feel. And then we showed the compliments to the recipients, and they reported how they actually felt. I should also mention they, on average, should have known each other for 10 years. So what's going to happen? Well, it turns out that for the compliment givers, they think that the recipients would be pretty happy when they received the compliments, but they just underestimated how happy the recipients felt when they received the compliments. And we have a control condition where there was no compliment giving or receiving. One person was just predicting how the other person was feeling in the park. And people did not underestimate how positive other people are feeling in general. So looking at the red bars, you can see that compliments really make a difference to the recipients. But the gray bars, the compliment givers, they had very little insight on the kind of impact their compliment would make on the recipient. So we also found that compliment givers overestimated how awkward receiving compliments would feel to the recipients. And we also, in another study, found that actually, those and not the expressors are not the only people who underestimated, because for third-party observers, they also underestimated the positive impact of compliments. In this case, we yoked them to the pairs in previous studies, and then they rated how they predicted how the recipient would feel. So they saw the exact compliments. They also did not anticipate the benefits as much as the recipients actually felt. So this is probably because only on the receiving end can help you feel the actual emotional, the lift from the compliment. And the observers overestimated how awkward receiving compliments would feel. So we also tested the mechanism. So one mechanism we focused on in this paper is that, well, when expressors and recipients think about compliments, they often think about different aspects. So the compliment givers, they often think about, well, am I doing a good job expressing my compliments? Am I finding the right words? Am I doing it well enough? And they can be very self-critical. We have data supporting that. They totally underestimate how well written and how articulate their compliments were perceived. But the recipients, they care about the warmth and the good intention of the kind intention of the compliments. And that is what really matters when you receive compliments. So it's a sense of recognition and acceptance and being liked by the other person. So to experimentally test this idea, we went back to the park. We had the expressor go through compliments. And in this case, we asked them to focus on either how warm and sincere the compliments were, or how articulate and well-written the compliments were before they predicted how positive the recipient would feel. So in this case, they had, we also had a third condition where they received no special instruction, pretty much like the previous study. So in this case, we wanted to know if thinking about how warm and sincere your compliments are instead of how articulate and well-written, well, actually the first case would help people to see the compliments more in a way more similar to the recipients, and make them become more calibrated, realize the positive impact of their compliments. So that's indeed, and then they made predictions, and then recipients reported how positive they felt, similar to previous studies. And I should also mention that all these pairs, they have known each other for a really long time. So in the no instruction condition, we replicated the finding in experiment 1 and also experiment 2 that expressors just underestimated how positive receiving compliments felt to the recipients. And in the competence-focused condition, we found that they also underestimated the positive mood. But in the warmth-focused condition, that gap was much smaller. It wasn't completely flat, but you can tell that there is an interaction. So they actually get to see the compliments a bit more aligned with how the recipients see them. And we also found that for the awkwardness measure, that is the same, that the control condition, competence-focused condition are pretty similar. Warmth, people realize that actually it's not really awkward, it's a really nice experience. So that's by directing people's attention, expressors' attention to warmth, they come to see the compliments more in a similar way, similar to the recipients. So this kind of underestimation and in general, having expectations about social interaction really matters, because we have other studies suggesting that expectations guide people's actual behaviors. For example, if they expect the other person to feel more positive, they are more likely to give the compliments. So in the final set of studies, we wonder, could we use what we've learned in this project to actually nudge people, to encourage them to give more compliments? So in one study, we had people, well, in this case, we recruited participants online. This was during the pandemic. So we had this person ask them to write down one compliment they can easily give to another person. Then we asked them to, well, either think about how warm and sincere this compliment is, or how articulate and well-written the compliment is. And then they answered the question, how interested are you in actually sending this compliment right now? We found that when they were thinking about the warmth, they were more interested in sending the compliment than when they are thinking about competence. So we see a difference in behavioral intention on a scale from 0 to 10. And we also give them a window, a 2-minute window to send the compliment if they wanted. And we found that the actual behavior was also consistent with this pattern of behavioral intention. So this is a study that suggests that focusing on the warmth can actually help people to give more compliments, or have more, be more psychologically ready, willing to give compliments. And in another study, this one is kind of an implication of our research and why this is important. So in this study, a final study, we again went to the park. This was before the pandemic. We actually recruited pairs again, and this time expressors were free to write as many or few compliments as they wanted. So the only difference is that for some expressors, we told them about what we found, that people generally underestimate the positive impact of their compliments. And then for the uninformed group, we didn't tell them the finding, we just told them the procedure of our previous research. So we found that, and then they were free to write as many compliments as they wanted for their recipient. We found that overall, people in the expressors in the informed group wrote on average more compliments than those in the uninformed group. I know that a difference of one compliment is not huge in this context, but we also know that the sense of belongingness actually comes from accumulation of seemingly small actions in everyday life. And knowing that compliments actually matter more than to people than people tend to assume can actually give people's behavior a gentle, nudge people's behavior in a positive direction. So this study also suggests that you should consider sharing our research, because if you share this message, but because spreading this message to more people might also mean that they will use this knowledge and they become more willing to give their compliments. So this will help also direct people's behavior to a positive direction. So I have a link later. So in the interest of time, I'm going to just briefly mention that we also had a paper that suggests that it's mistaken to believe that giving compliments too often will devalue your compliments or make you seem less sincere. So you can check out this paper. And we are also conducting cross-cultural comparisons right now to understand whether the kind of experience and expectations are similar across different cultures, or it is more specific to Western cultures, especially in the US. So I want to thank everyone for being here and joining me. And here is a link to actually share our research so that more people will realize their blind spot and perhaps start to more willing to share their compliments. Thank you.